In this video, I'm explaining about Introduction to Coordinate Geometry and some of the formulas associated with coordinate geometry. The coordinate geometry is a combination of algebra and geometry. Here, geometry means we are referring the shapes like figures, like circles, straight lines, hyperbola, parabola, triangle, all these comes under geometry. And algebra means it is an algebraic expression. In coordinate geometry, we are finding the equation for different shapes. The shapes belongs to the geometry and the equation belongs to the algebra. So that's why we call the coordinate geometry as a combination of algebra and geometry. In coordinate geometry, there are two main concepts which are known as abscissa and ordinate. The abscissa means, suppose, let us say that there is a straight line on the xy plane, that is a two-dimensional plane. Here I have taken a Cartesian plane with x and y coordinate. This Cartesian plane is a 2D plane or a two-dimensional plane. And on this plane, I have taken a line. Let us say that the line is L and there is a point P on that line. And the coordinates of this particular P point is X and Y. So now here, the distance of this particular point from the Y-axis, that particular value is known as the abscissa. That is this distance. From here to here, this distance we can call that one as the abscissa, and that is the x coordinate of the point. In the same way, the distance of a point from the y-axis, that is this distance. This distance is known as the ordinate, that is the distance of a point from the x-axis, and this is the y coordinate of the point. So like this way, we can define any set of points with the two coordinates on the 2D plane, that is in the case of coordinate geometry. So here I am taking a straight line, as we are going to study about straight line in coming videos. So here the straight line means if any equation is of the form ax plus by plus c is equal to 0, then we can call that one as a straight line. Like for example, in class 10 you might have studied about linear equation in one variable or in two variable. There they used to give some equation and you used to put different values for that x and y value. Based on that, you are drawing the straight line. So for example, let us say that this is the equation given to you, like 2x plus 5y is equal to 10. Then we can take x is equal to 0 here. Then we get here y value, that is 2. If we put y is equal to 0, then we get the x value. So here, based on this, we got 2 points. One is 0, 2, another one is 5, 0. If this point, if you plot on the Cartesian plane, that is on the 2D plane, then you get a straight line. So this line, that is represents the equation 2x plus 5y is equal to 10. So like this way, these kind of problems you have already done in class 10. Whereas in the case of straight line, that is chapter 10 of class 11 concept, we are going to study the same concept, but here the diagram is given to you and you need to design the equation. So that we are going to study in the chapter 10. So that is nothing but the coordinate geometry. So now here, let us see some of the basic formulas which you have already studied in class 10. The first formula is distance formula. That is, if there are 2 points, if you know the 2 points, then the distance between the 2 points we can find out by using this distance formula. Let us say that we know the point A with x1, y1 coordinates, and we know the point B value with x2, y2 coordinates. Now we need to find out the distance between this particular point, that is from this to this, then that distance we can find out by using the formula d is equal to square root of x2 minus x1 whole square plus y2 minus y1 whole square. And here sometimes when you find the distance you may get the negative value, but here always you have to consider a positive value because distance cannot be a negative value. Like for example, let us say that they have given find the distance between the point 6 minus 4 and 3 0. If you try to plot this particular value on the graph, then 3 0 we can get the point here and 6 minus 4 we can get the point here. If you join these 2 points, you get a straight line. Now here, if you want to find out the distance between these 2 points, then we can find out that, let us say that these points are x1, y1 and this one as x2, y2. Now, by using this formula, just replace the value, that is x2 minus x1, that is 3 minus 6 whole square plus y2 minus y1, that is here we have 0 minus 4, that means plus 4, so 0 plus 4 whole square, and here this becomes 3 minus 6, that is minus 3 whole square plus 4 square, that is 9 plus 16, that is square root of 25, that is equal to 5 units. So like this way we can find out the distance between any 2 points by using this particular formula, and here the distance value must be a positive value. If you're getting the negative answer, then you have to make that one as a positive value, and here this you can interchange. You can write x1 minus x2 or you can write y1 minus y2, that doesn't make any difference. So this is known as a distance formula. Next we have a section formula. In this we have 2 formulas, that is one is internal divide. Internal divide means, let us say that here you have a straight line with 2 points. The first point is P with x1, y1 coordinates and the another point is x2, y2 coordinates. And there is some point R on the straight line which divides these 2 points internally with the ratio m is to n or m ratio n. Then how we can find out this particular coordinates, that is this point coordinates, that we can find out by using this formula, that is xy coordinate. Let us say that the coordinates of the R point is xy, that is xy is equal to mx2 plus nx1 divided by m plus n, comma my2 plus ny1 divided by m plus n. That is, here x coordinates of R point we can find out by using this formula, and y coordinates of R we can find out by using this particular formula. So this is the formula, that is to find the coordinates of the point, that is middle point we can find out. It may be a midpoint, that is depends on the ratio, that is here it's given that m ratio n. Based on that, so this point coordinates we can find out by using this formula. Next again in this we have one more special case. The special case is, suppose let us say that this R, if this R point is the midpoint, then the ratio it divides, that is equal, m is to n, m ratio n, that is we can say m is equal to n, or we can say 1 ratio 1 or 2 ratio 2. So m is equal to n. Suppose if this is the midpoint, then we can use the formula. See, in the previous formula we have to make slight changes. X coordinates of R we can find out using this formula, mx2 plus nx1 divided by m plus n. Now here we know that m is equal to n. So wherever you have n, replace that with m. So we can write mx2 plus mx1 divided by m plus n. That is m you can take out, x2 plus x1 divided by 2m. From this you can cancel m and m, so we have x2 plus x1 divided by 2. So this is the formula to find out the x coordinates of the midpoint R. Then to find out the y coordinates of the midpoint R, we can use the formula. See, in the previous formula, that is internal divide formula, you have to make slight changes. You know that the y coordinates of R we can find out by using this, that is my2 plus ny1 divided by m plus n. Here replace n with m, or even you can replace m with n. So any one replacement you can make, my2 plus my1 divided by m plus m, that is m into y2 plus y1 divided by 2m. So after cancellation of m, here we get y2 plus y1 divided by 2. So like this way, we can find out the coordinates of the r point if r is the midpoint, that is by using this formula x2 plus x1 divided by 2, y2 plus y1 divided by 2. This will give you the x coordinates and this will give you the y coordinates. Next we have the third formula, that is area of a triangle. If the three vertices are given, that is, let us say that x1 y1, x2 y2 and x3 y3, then we can find out the area of a triangle by using this formula, that is equal to half modulus of x1 into y2 minus y3 plus x2 into y3 minus y1 plus x3 into y1 minus y2. So by using this formula, you can find out the area of a triangle. For example, let us say that you want to find out the area of the triangle whose vertices are 4, 4, 3 minus 2 and minus 3, 16. So now let us take this one as x1, y1, this as x2, y2 and this as x3, y3. If you replace the values that is in this particular formula, then here we get half modulus x1 is 4 here, 4 into y2 is minus 2, then minus y3 we have here we have 16, so minus 16 plus x2 is 3 here, 3 into y3 is 16 minus y1 is 4 plus minus 3, x3 is minus 3, then into y1 is 4, then y2, that is y2 is minus 2, already we have a minus sign here, so minus plus 4 plus 2, that is equal to half modulus 4 into minus 18 plus 3 into 12 plus minus 3 into 6, that is half modulus minus 72 plus 36 minus 18, that is equal to modulus of minus 54 divided by 2, that is equal to, you can take here the modulus sign so that this becomes plus 54 divided by 2, that is equal to 27. So like this way, by using this formula, you can find out the area of a triangle. And while finding the area of a triangle, suppose let us say that the area of the triangle is 0. Then the 3 points A, B, C lie on the same line, and then we can say that the points are collinear. Suppose if you have like this way, let us say that here we have 3 points A, B, C. Now in this case, the area of the triangle is 0, so here the 3 points lie on the same line and we can say that the points A, B, C are collinear points. Slope of a straight line. Consider a Cartesian plane. Let us divide the Cartesian plane into two coordinate axes, x-axis with x and x dash, then y-axis with y and y dash. Now, on this Cartesian plane, consider a straight line. Let us say that there is a straight line L1 which is located on this Cartesian plane. Now, this straight line L1 makes an angle with the x-axis. See here, in this case, if I consider, let us say that here we have a Cartesian plane with the x and y coordinates, and there is a line which is located on the Cartesian plane, and now this line is making some angles with the x-axis. See here, in this case you can see that this angle, one is this angle, then another one is this angle, another one is this angle, and another angle is this angle. So this line is making 4 angles with the x-axis. Now here we are interested only in the one angle, and that angle is theta. That is located on the positive x-axis direction. Positive x-axis direction means, see here we have a line. Now this is known as a positive direction and this one is known as a negative direction. Generally, in the case of Cartesian plane, we represent the coordinates like this way. We write this one as positive axis, this one as a negative axis, and this as a positive y-axis and this as a negative y-axis. This is the numerical representation. Now I am not talking about the numerical representation, I am talking just about the direction of the x-axis. That means, Suppose let us say that you have one line, this line on the xy plane, that is on the Cartesian plane. Now in this case the positive x direction is this one, that is the right side movement. Then left side movement becomes the negative direction. So for this line, this becomes the positive direction and this becomes the negative direction. Even though this much part is the negative x-axis, but here we are talking about the direction, so you have to consider this one, that is the positive direction. Or let us say that you have some line which is located over here. Then in this case, this becomes the positive direction of the x-axis, and this one starting from here to here, the left side direction, that becomes the negative direction of the x-axis. So now here when we are talking about the slope of a straight line, we have to consider the angle that is made by the line with the positive x-axis direction. See, in this case, here we have a line L1. This line L1 is making actually 4 angles with the x-axis. One is this one, then here this one, and this angle and this angle. We have to consider the positive x-axis direction, that means this direction. We are not interested on the left side, we are interested on the positive direction, so this direction. So with this direction, this line is making actually one angle, that is this one, another angle, that is this one, and then we have here 2 angles that is made by this line with the positive x-axis direction. But we are interested only in the anti-clockwise direction. That is, you might be knowing about in the trigonometric chapter, that is clockwise and anti-clockwise direction. If the movement is clockwise, then we get the negative angle, and if the movement is anti-clockwise, then we get the positive angle. So we have to consider here the anti-clockwise direction, that means this direction. Here we have, this is the clockwise direction, this one, and this one is the anti-clockwise direction. So here this angle, that is the angle made by the line L1 with the positive direction of the x-axis in anti-clockwise direction is known as a inclination of the line. That is denoted as a theta. So now here this theta value may ranges from 0 to 180 degree. For example, let us say that here we have one line. Let us say that the line is located over here like this way. Now see, for this particular line, the positive direction is this one. The right side of this line is the positive direction of the x-axis, and this direction is the negative direction. Now here, the inclination of the line, for this we can take as this one. That is, this forms the theta. That is the angle made by the line with the positive direction of the x-axis, that is in anti-clockwise direction. See, actually this line is making 4 angles. One is this one, another one is this one, another one is this one, and another one is this one. But we are interested only in the positive direction. So if you are considering a line on the x-axis, then right side is known as a positive direction and the left side of that line is known as a negative direction. So now we need this particular direction. With this direction, this line is making 2 angles. One is this one, another one is this one. And in that also, we are interested only in the anti-clockwise direction. See, this angle, if you see, this is in the clockwise direction and this angle is in the anti-clockwise direction. That means here, now we have to consider this one as a inclination of the line, that is the theta. So what is inclination of the line? The inclination of the line is nothing but the angle made by the line with the positive x-axis direction, that is measured in anti-clockwise direction. That is, in this case, this particular angle is known as a theta, and the range of this angle is in between 0 to 180 degree. Now here, if you find the tangent of this particular angle, then we call that one as the slope of the line. That is, the tangent of theta is known as the slope of line, or it is also known as the gradient of the line, and that is denoted by m. So the slope of the line that is equal to m, which we denote by using the letter m, that is equal to the tangent of theta. The theta is nothing but the inclination of the line, and the tangent of that theta is known as the slope of the line. So using this, we can find out the slope of the line. That is, if the angle is given to you, then we can find the slope. Let us see that. See here, we have a line L. This line L is making 45-degree angle with the positive direction of the x-axis. So now here we know the value of theta, the inclination of the line, that is theta is equal to 45 degree. Then slope you can easily find out. Slope is denoted by using m. M is equal to tan theta. So tan 45 degree. We know the value of tan 45 degree, which already we have studied in chapter 3. So tan 45 degree, that is equal to 1. So the slope of the line is 1 here. In the same way here, in this case, let us say that the angle made by this line with the positive direction of the x-axis is 60 degree. So theta is equal to 60 degree. So m is equal to tan theta. This will give the slope of the line. So just replace in the place of theta with 60 degree. So tan 60 degree, that is square root of 3. So this is the slope of this particular line. And see here, this is the positive direction, that is the right side of the line forms the positive x-axis direction and the left side of the line forms the negative x-axis direction. We are not interested in the negative axis and positive axis. We are just talking about here the positive direction and negative direction. Just keep that in your mind. Next here, let us see the different values of theta. The case 1, let us say that if the theta value is in between 0 to 90 degree. So then 0 to 90 degree means it is an acute angle. So now let us say that here we have a Cartesian plane and there is a line L, and that line L is making an angle with the positive x direction, that is theta. Now here in this particular situation, the theta value is an acute angle, and for that the slope is always a positive. So slope cannot be a negative, because slope means it is the tangent of theta, tangent of this angle, and the tan theta 0 to 90 degree in the first quadrant, the tan theta is always positive. So that's why if the theta value is in between 0 to 90 degree, then we can say that the slope is positive. Next, the second case, let us say that the theta value is greater than 90 degree. So if the angle is greater than 90 degree means that forms a obtuse angle. So we can say that the theta is a obtuse angle, and for the obtuse angle, that is in the second quadrant, that is we know that the theta value ranges from 0 to 180 degree. So now we are talking about theta is greater than 90. Greater than 90, that means the second quadrant. We know that in the second quadrant, the tan theta, that is all after school to college, here in the second quadrant the tan theta is negative. So that's why here if the theta is an obtuse angle, then we can say that the slope is negative. Why the slope is negative? Theta is nothing but the slope is nothing but the tangent of theta, and tan theta is negative in the second quadrant. Theta is greater than 90 degree means second quadrant, so that's why slope is negative. Next we have the third case, if theta is equal to 0. See, theta is equal to 0. The angle is equal to 0 means slope is equal to m tan theta. Replace here this theta with 0, tan 0. Tan 0 is 0 only. So if theta is equal to 0, then slope is also 0, because tangent of 0 is 0 only. So that is the third case. And here see, whenever the slope value is equal to 0, then we can say that the line is parallel to the x-axis, or the line lies on the x-axis. That is, in this case, if you see here, this one here, the theta value, there is no angle actually. Theta is equal to 0 here. Here also the theta is equal to 0. So when the line is parallel to the x-axis, or the line lies on the x-axis, that time the slope is equal to 0 and the theta is equal to 0. Then next we have the fourth case, that is if theta is equal to 90 degree. See, theta is equal to 90 degree means tan 90 degree. We know that tan 90 degree is undefined, that is infinity. So if theta is equal to 90 degree, that time the slope is undefined, because this theta value depends on the tangent value and tan 90 degrees infinity. So slope is undefined, and theta is equal to 90 degree means we may have a straight line which is parallel to the y-axis, or here we can say that the line may be located on the y-axis itself. We may have a straight line that is parallel to the y-axis, or the line may be located on the y-axis itself. So this is the situation where theta is equal to 90 degree. In this case, you can see that this particular line is making an angle that is 90 degree angle with the positive x-axis direction. So that's why here we have taken that the slope is undefined, because tan 90 degrees is infinity. And here see, in this case, now in this situation we have a line that is parallel to the x-axis where the theta angle is 0 here, and in this case also sometimes the line may lie on the x-axis. In that case also the theta angle, the angle made by this line with the positive x-axis direction is 0 here, and tan 0 means it is 0. So if slope is 0 means we can say that the line is parallel to x-axis, or line lies on the x-axis. So these are the different cases related to the inclination of the angle that is related to the theta. The first case is if the theta value is in between 0 to 90 degree, then it is an acute angle and the slope is positive. That is, in the first quadrant tan theta is positive, that's why. Then if theta is greater than 90 degree, then in the second quadrant the tan theta is negative, then that forms an obtuse angle and slope is negative. And if theta is equal to 0, then we can say that the line parallel to the x-axis, or line lies on the x-axis, and slope is also 0. Then if theta is equal to 90 degree, that time the slope is undefined, or slope is equal to infinity, and the line is parallel to the y-axis, or line lies on the y-axis. Conditions for parallelism and perpendicularity of lines in terms of their slopes. So first let us see the condition for parallelism. So now consider a Cartesian plane with x and y coordinates, and on this Cartesian plane consider two lines. The first line I have taken here L1, and the second line is L2. Now let us take some angles related to L1 and L2 line. That is nothing but the inclination of the angle. That is, here we have the line L1. The line L1 makes an angle with the positive direction of the x-axis, that is in anti-clockwise direction. That angle we will consider as a alpha. Then again we have here line L2. The line L2 also makes an angle with the positive direction of the x-axis in anti-clockwise direction. Now let us say that that angle is beta. So angle alpha related to line L1 and angle beta related to line L2. These two angles made by the line L1 and L2 with the positive direction of the x-axis. So here we can have obtuse angle as well as we can have the acute angle. See, here in this case line is like this way. That means here we have alpha and beta both are obtuse angle. Whereas in this case the alpha as well as beta both are acute angles, that is less than 90 degree. So now here we can consider the condition for parallelism, both the cases obtuse as well as acute angles. So before seeing the condition for parallelism, let us see the property that is related to parallel lines. Suppose if you have two parallel lines, let us say that line 1 and line 2 we have, and then one more line we have. That line cut these two lines. Then such line is known as a transversal. Now in this case, this particular line cut these two parallel lines. So this is known as a transversal. So when transversal cut two parallel lines, then many angles are formed. That time the corresponding angles are equal. That means here we have the angle. Let us name the angle with the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now the corresponding angles are equal. The corresponding angles means in this case the angle 1 is equal to angle 5, angle 2 is equal to angle 6, angle 3 is equal to angle 7, angle 4 is equal to angle 8. So like this way these angles are equal. So by using this property, now here we will derive the condition for parallelism. See, if you compare this with these two diagrams, here also in this case also you can see that here we have line 1 and line 2. Here also we have line 1 and line 2. These two lines are parallel lines, and this x-axis we can take as a transversal. Here if you turn this particular diagram, then you can see that here we have two parallel lines, line 1 and line 2, and this x-axis cut these two lines. So now here in this case also this forms a transversal. So if the transversal cut two parallel lines, then their corresponding angles are equal. We can apply this property over here. That means this angle is equal to this one, then beta is equal to alpha, this angle is equal to this one. That we have learned here, the same property we can apply here. So by that way, that is the corresponding angle property here. If you compare this with this, we can say that here alpha is equal to beta. Why we have written the angle alpha is equal to beta? Because here x-axis forms the transversal which cut two parallel lines, then their corresponding angles are equal, so alpha is equal to beta. If alpha is equal to beta, here we can write tan alpha is equal to tan beta. That doesn't make any difference because both the values are positive here. So tan alpha is equal to tan beta. Now the tan means it is the slope. Let us say that the slope of the first line is m1 and the slope of the second line is m2. That means we can say that m1 is equal to m2. So here we can say that the slope of the first line is equal to the slope of the second line. That is, if two non-vertical lines L1 and L2 are parallel, if and only if their slopes are equal. So this is the condition for the parallelism of lines. That is, we can say this in vice versa also. That is, if slopes are equal, means we can say that the line is parallel, or if line is parallel, then we can say that the slopes are equal. Next, condition for perpendicularity I will discuss in the next video. Thanks for watching.